My hands were shaking with rage. This woman, this so-called community standards director, showed up at my house with a ring of so-called master keys and tried to unlock my front door. And when the keys didn't work, she called 911 on me, not knowing the deputy who pulled up was my son. Act 1. The conflict begins. Tuesday morning in February, I was on my knees in the yard installing sprinkler heads for my late wife's memorial garden when I heard the click of heels on the sidewalk. Confident, sharp, like someone walking into a boardroom, not down a quiet cul-de-sac. I looked up and there she was, mid-40s, business suit, leather portfolio, shiny badge pinned to her jacket, like she was auditioning for a role on some TV drama. "Good morning, Mr. Porter," she beamed. "I'm Courtney Mitchell, Community Standards Director here at Oak Ridge. I have paperwork regarding property compliance issues that transferred with your purchase." She flipped open the portfolio, perfectly bound documents, embossed title photos, violation notices, fee schedules. If I hadn't spent decades as an engineer reading technical specifications for a living, I might have been impressed. Instead, all I saw were red flags. Fonts didn't match, citations were sloppy, even the word standards was spelled wrong on page 4. But she spoke with that polished confidence people mistake for authority. Claimed I owed $350 in back assessments plus $250 every month going forward. And then she casually mentioned quarterly safety inspections, pointing to a ring of 10 shiny keys on her belt. She said they gave her master access to every home in the community. I asked the obvious questions. Where's the HOA charter? Where are the board members? When was this thing legally incorporated? She danced around them with lines like, "All documents are filed at the county level," and "I'm just here to enforce established procedures." I knew I smelled a rat. That's when my neighbor Betty Harper strolled over, 72 years old, retired librarian, the type who notices everything. The second Courtney walked away, Betty leaned in and whispered, "That woman ran another family right out of here. 9 months of harassment until they sold their place. I've been documenting her photos, recordings, everything." Sure enough, Betty pulled out her phone and showed me stacks of violation notices, all with the same language, same fonts, same threats. It wasn't community pride that made the fences and mailboxes match, it was intimidation. By the time I set Courtney's packet down on my kitchen table that night, I knew this wasn't confused bureaucracy. This was fraud. A woman who built a fake authority structure, polished it up with official-sounding language, and used it to squeeze money out of scared neighbors. Act 2. Escalation and doubt. Here's where I screwed up. Instead of confronting her with the truth, I paid the first month's fee, $250, just to buy time. I thought better to avoid a fight while I gather evidence. But that payment was the trap. The fine print on her receipt claimed I had authorized quarterly inspections, which meant she could now show up and demand access to my house whenever she wanted. 2 days later, she arrived with a handyman named Jake Riley. Nice enough guy, but he looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. He carried measuring tools while Courtney smiled and announced, "Your monthly payment authorizes full compliance measurement. We'll need access to your backyard and garage." I planted myself in front of the gate. "No, you won't." Jake muttered an apology and started measuring the fence anyway. I overheard him on the phone rattling off details like electrical panels and gate lock stuff that had nothing to do with compliance. It wasn't an inspection. It was surveillance. And here's the part that nearly broke me. The neighbors started siding with her. "She's protecting our property values," Susan Mills told me. "Why stir up trouble?" Rick Coleman shrugged and admitted he'd already paid $1750 over 7 months. Easier than conflict. Even Betty warned me another neighbor had tried resisting, and Courtney made her life hell until she moved out. That night Courtney called me directly. Her voice was syrupy sweet. "Mr. Porter, I worry you may be experiencing age-related confusion about authority structures. It happens after retirement. Perhaps family members could join our discussions." She was gaslighting me, suggesting I was losing my mind. And for a moment, I'll admit it, I believed her. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was the crazy old man in the neighborhood making drama out of nothing. I sat there at my kitchen table staring at her fake manual, and for the first time I wondered if I should just give up. Pay the fees, keep the peace, stop being that neighbor. But then I picked up my phone and texted my son Daniel. Weird neighbor claiming HOA authority with master keys. Engineering brain says something's off. How's deputy work this week? His reply was instant. Sounds sketchy, Dad. Document everything. Don't let anyone in the house without a court order. Love you. That message snapped me out of it. No, I wasn't crazy. I was being scammed. And if there's one thing I raised my son to know, it's that you don't bow down to bullies, especially ones hiding behind fake authority. So I set up security cameras. Betty kept recording. And Jake, guilt eating him alive, started slipping me information. Courtney was paying him $200 per task to fabricate violations and map out properties. She had even rehearsed a 911 script ready to claim any resisting homeowner was unstable, dangerous, in need of emergency intervention. And then came her ultimatum. She showed up with that polished smile and told me I had 48 hours to comply. After that, she'd invoke emergency community safety procedures. What kind of HOA needs emergency procedures? I knew right then this was going to end in a showdown. Act 3, The Showdown. Tuesday evening, 6:45 p.m. The cul-de-sac was buzzing. Neighbors lingered outside, phones in hand. Word had spread that tonight was the night. At exactly 7 huzzahs, Courtney marched up my driveway, clipboard under her arm, master keys gleaming on her belt. Behind her trailed Jake, looking like a man headed for his own funeral. Mandatory emergency inspection, she announced loud enough for half the block to hear. Under Community Covenant Article 12, I have master key access to all non-compliant properties. I stayed inside my doorway, cameras rolling. Courtney, you're attempting criminal trespass under Texas Penal Code 30.02. There is no HOA here. Municipal records prove it. Everything is being recorded. She waved her clipboard like a wand. Obstruction of emergency safety procedures. You're endangering community welfare. Then she lifted the first key with all the ceremony of a queen unlocking her vault, inserted it into my lock, turned, nothing. Second key, nothing. By the 5th, sweat had broken on her forehead. By the 8th, her hands were trembling. By the 10th, her entire performance was unraveling. From her window, Betty shouted, "Those keys never worked on anyone's house. She's been lying for 8 months. The dam burst." Rick yelled about the 1750 stolen from his family. Other neighbors joined in, waving receipts, shouting about fake violations. Susan looked like she'd seen a ghost. Courtney snapped. She hurled the ring of keys at my door, denting the wood, scattering her clipboard and fake documents across the driveway. Papers fluttered in the wind while she screamed, "I have legal authority here." These locks were illegally modified. And then her final move. She dialed 911. Emergency Community Standards Director under attack by neighborhood mob. Elderly resident, unstable neighbors threatening me. The crowd erupted. "She's lying to 911, check her fake credentials." Everyone was shouting, filming, documenting. Moments later, sirens cut through the chaos. Courtney straightened her blazer, smoothing her hair, convinced salvation had arrived. The patrol car stopped. The deputy stepped out, and I said, calm as I could, "Hi, Daniel. Thanks for coming so fast." The silence was electric. Neighbors froze. Courtney blinked, mouth hanging open, trying to process what she'd just heard. Daniel nodded, all business. "Hi, Dad. Backup's on the way. Are you injured?" Courtney's face went ghost white. She stammered, "D-Dad." His dad, then louder, "No, no, no, this is impossible." She lunged at me, shrieking about conspiracies and setups. Daniel stepped in, restraining her with professional calm. "Ma'am, you're detained for assault. Backup will handle processing." Minutes later, the second unit arrived. Courtney Mitchell was cuffed on the spot, charged with trespass, impersonating a public servant, making a false police report, attempted burglary, assault, and fraud. She screamed about property values and community welfare as they loaded her into the cruiser, but nobody was listening anymore. 8 months of fake authority collapsed in one night right there on my porch in front of 15 neighbors and 20 phone cameras. Closing line. Fake authority only works until someone demands proof, then it crumbles like paper in the rain.